Good morning, Desert Sands Unified School District on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. My name is Sean Webb, and I'm your Director of Community Engagement, and you're watching Classroom Conversations. We're actually at episode 44 of Classroom Conversations. Quite the thing that we've accomplished here when Chef Mary and I just started this in the spring. But I want to go ahead and start off by saying thank you to the Desert Sands Educational Foundation for providing this platform, and I'd like to read their mission statement. The Desert Sands Educational Foundation secures funding and awards money to provide supplemental resources that enrich and enhance student learning in the Desert Sands Unified School District. They do that in partnership with public and private sectors. Desert Sands Educational Foundation financially supports creative and innovative programs that enrich and enhance the educational experience in the academics, the arts, and the extracurricular activities that engage all students and staff in DSUSD. We do that with our partners in the community. And today we have a real special show. We've got Robert Shine, who's going to be joining us to talk about CW3 conference. And then we're going to talk about the COVID updates that we received from our school board meeting. And then I've got a letter that I received from Mr. Bailey that I'm going to share with you guys that was sent out to all DSUSD staff. But let's go ahead and start this off and bring on Chef Mary. Good morning, Chef Mary. How are you?
Oh my gosh, good morning. How are you? It's cold up here again as usual. Of course, we're still in the midst of winter, but it's good. And then I want to let you know that I tuned into the board meeting, and it was pretty awesome. I mean, to hear all the updates and to see all of our CamFest people be honored, and to see my buddy Mary Perry, which is always really fun, and their new student board member.
Yes.
That was pretty impressive. And so thank you for letting me know about that. It was a very interesting time, and I'm glad I took the time to be there. It was good.
So I'll share with you, Mary, everybody at the actual board meeting. Obviously, we don't encourage people to attend the board meetings right now because of what's going on with the pandemic, but I'll share with you, you'll be receiving one of these in the mail.
Oh, how
part
good.
of the foundation board and being part of the CamFest board.
That's awesome.
So you'll be receiving this in the mail. So I'll be emailing you to make sure I get the correct mailing address and everything.
Well, that was awesome. I mean, it was just great to hear a lot of information, firsthand. And just, of course, to see Mr. Bailey, he was always our favorite person in the kitchen. And to see all the other board members, Wendy and Wendy Jonathan and Mrs. Savalas. To hear them
Conover, Mrs. Porras. Yep.
Yeah. To hear about what their departments are doing, to move forward. I was pretty impressed about the extent of what their involvement is and what their responsibility is. It was big.
Oh yeah. No, you got to hear the full cabinet session where they talk about the COVID response. And that has actually been a permanent part of our board meeting. I want to say from May on. It just became part of the board meeting that we're just going to give the COVID response because everybody's wanting to know that information. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, it was great. Some of that stuff I've never heard before. And I kind of relieved some of the anxiety of wondering. And then there it was. I mean, in great detail. It well explained and well detailed. I mean, I was really glad I took the time. I highly recommend people take that time.
Oh, no, and our board meetings are posted at dsusd.us in the school board section there. And I'll tell you, you may not know this, but because of the access to StreamYard, the foundation has given myself, I stream the Spanish and the American Sign Language for every meeting. So it's kind of cool how we are right now face-to-face here. The Spanish version is what they hear, and then the other side of the camera is the person who's doing the American Sign Language for the entire meeting. So we make that available for all of our families.
Yeah, that was awesome. I mean, it was just incredible. A lot of work, and appreciate all the hard work they do on the research. That's good.
Yeah, definitely. So let me go ahead and I want to show you. Here's our topics for today. We're going to talk about CW3. I shared with you, we've got an email that Mr. Bailey sent to all the DSUSD staff, and I want to share the highlights of that. We'll go over our social media, and then Mary, you're going to love this, our meal challenge. I also challenged some of our partnered chefs from La Quinta, and they gave me some ideas, so I'll talk about that too. We got a fun show planned for us. But what I'd like to go ahead and do is bring on our first guest, actually our only guest for today, Robert Shine. How you doing?
Good. How you doing, Sean? Thank you for having me. Hi, Chef Mary.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. Thank you. How are you?
As a matter of fact, meet Chef Mary. This is your first time interacting with her, right?
You know what? It's a wonderful, heard so much about, and obviously learned a little bit more about you before we got on the air today. But what an inspiration, and truly great to meet you today.
Thank you. It's fun. I gather lots of good friends and people around me, and that gives me that little boost every day to be a better person, to be happy. Just be happy.
That's why I kind of, as soon as I met Chef Mary, I knew what I had here. I had a diamond in the rough, and I needed to make sure to keep a hold of her. And even when she retired, 3 years ago, we still keep in close contact. Exactly. Yeah. So, Rob, you're our guest today. Why don't you give us a little bit about your background and what is CW3? How did it start?
Well, Sean and Chef Mary, thank you. And for the audience out there, this is something that's truly passionate. I have a passion for. And let's just start with the acronym CW3. It stands for Confidence Summit, Women, Wealth, and Wellness, essentially. And what that is 1 week from today, we are hosting Virtually Speaking. And our audience, we're going to have a special code for everyone here for the students. We wish and want you to attend because it'll truly inspire you. Essentially, I'm a managing director and partner financial advisor here in Palm Desert, California for the last 20 years. I'm also the father of 4 children, 3 high school girls. And essentially what I see is the world around us created a nonprofit organization for educating and empowering financially independent those that are students today, but those that are Chef Mary along into the future with regards to wealth and wellness. Both are equally important now more than ever. And we have a confidence summit next week, 1 week from today, and we're encouraging everyone to attend. But my mission, ultimately, the reason why it started is a personal story.
Okay. Excellent.
So, Rob, what is the, I know that a lot of people are wondering, what is the depth of the conference? As a woman, I find it very interesting that you have focused on that avenue of how we need to move forward. And so what is the CW3 Summit, and what are your aims?
Yes, certainly. So let me step back and just give you my inspiration real quick. Essentially, Chef Mary, 9 out of 10 women will be solely responsible for their own financial health at some point in time in their lives, right? Whether you're 9 years old or 99 years old, education is the foundation, as well as the foundation for the confidence, if you will. And that's what we're inspiring to connect on all age levels and spectrums, especially high school students. For the high school students, very specifically, we will have a component built in, especially if you're a senior, what to expect, sort of 5 take-home points before you become a college freshman. Anything from, learning about credit cards and credit scores to savings and budgeting and a few other tips and tricks. But essentially, I created the Society of the Few Financially Empowered Women, which now is a 501c3, which has the mission to educate and empower and provide these types of opportunities, virtually speaking now, for this forum of education. So it's going to be an all-day event next week. And if you sign up, you'll have access to, obviously, I have a 7 keys of financial wellness speech that I have prepared for our audience. Bronwyn Eisen, our wellness expert. Everyone in the Coachella Valley knows Bronwyn, and she's exceptional. She has 7 principles for self-care. So both the wealth component with my background and the wellness component with her background combined together will be delivering 14 different keys and principles from a wealth and wellness standpoint to inspire and educate you going forward. Plus, a couple added bonuses. Our special guest is Dana Vollmer. You may or may not know Dana. Dana is a 3-time Olympian, 5-time gold medalist, and she's going to share with us her key to mindset. That's one of my financial wellness keys, but we were lucky to have her join us. We have an Olympian. She's going to share her story. I'm telling you, it's worth the time just to listen to Dana, as well as Lori Crete. She is a celebrity esthetician, very successful entrepreneur. She will be our keynote speaker at the end of the day. We're going to have some fun things after the event, but the best part is that if you were to sign up, you have access to 17 different inspirational and educational wealth and wellness components for 6 months. So if you can't join us for that one day, you can still be part of this long into the future when you have some time.
That's awesome.
That is fantastic. And I want to go back to one of your speakers that you have and one of the people that you created this conference with Bronwyn. I'll give you a little history here. Chef Mary, in 2014, we did the first health and wellness week at La Quinta High, if you remember. And during that week, we had one day that was culminating where we had activities going on from 3 o'clock till 7 o'clock in the afternoon. And one of those activities was a yoga room. And this is when Bronwyn had her studio in Old Town. And she came on campus and she did a complete activity, which just, I'll be honest, it started off with the dance team and the cheerleaders. And next thing you know, we had to find her a bigger space because they had that many people in her room. So it was just pretty awesome to see that, you know, here she was working with us in the school, and now she's working with us in this capacity now. Yeah, that is just fantastic.
Wonderful. She's exceptional. Hugely grateful for her contributions, her dedication. Both of us are equally just joined on this mission together, which is wonderful.
Excellent. Now, Rob, can you tell us who is the target audience for CW3?
Well, you know, everyone from Chef Mary, who is truly an inspiration. And Chef Mary, I would love to have you as our guest next year. Yeah, that would be wonderful. To especially the high school students, realistically speaking, it's different from your classes that you're getting and the education that you're getting right now. If you're not into the world of finance, it doesn't really much matter, because we want to connect with all the high school students. And I've got a little tidbit for the high school students right now. If you join, and if you're going to watch some of the tips and tricks that we're going to give you that day, you will become a millionaire. Okay, let me repeat that. You will become a future millionaire. You will thank your future self will thank you, because what the high schoolers have today, the younger generations, that most of us really don't have, is the time. And that's also important as it relates to foundationally becoming financially independent and doing all the right steps. But what you have is the superpower if you're a high school student, which is time, and it's exceptional. So you're going to want to join us, because we're going to give you some tips and tricks and set you up properly before you get to later on in life and say, oh gosh, I wish I had this in high school.
Okay. Well, I grew up in the 50s, and our family, you were basically expected to get out of high school, get married, have children. My dad thought women didn't really need to drive, and we didn't really know anybody. And so these type of topics to me are really fascinating, because I had a financial background. I was an accountant, but I didn't have a financial background on how to make my own money and how to make my money work for me and what to do with it. I just basically spent it. So I'm wondering, are these some of the things that your attendees are going to be learning, and are you going to be touching on about, how to make your money, how to grow old gracefully, how to be a society person as an old person, being a female? Because I think we lose that. They don't feel that we have a value. Is that something that they might touch on?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, for my 7 keys to financial wellness, we're going to cover everything from mindset is one of my keys, to open to growth, right? Being a lifelong learner, whether you're 9 years old to 99 years old or even beyond, always be open to growth. Chef Mary, you exemplify that, right? Throughout your career, you've always been open to growth and always been able to adapt to new things and embracing new things. That's exceptional. One of the components we're going to talk about in another key is negotiating, the art of negotiation, right? Yeah. Every day we wake up and we're negotiating with our own selves. What do I need to do? What do I have to do? Whether it's negotiating for a car or a new home, whether it's negotiating out of college for your first job. Keep this in mind. We spend all these years of education, but we spend no time on negotiating or learning. Unless you're in business school, in college, you get out and go into the real world. You get your first job, your job interview, and a salary is put in front of you as a job offer. Well, if you don't take the time to understand market research of what the going rate is for somebody like you, or what your expectations are, so on and so forth, and you just accept what's handed to you for the rest of your life in your future employment, the next job that you get will be set upon your salary at that point in time if you didn't negotiate properly. An extra $5,000 or $10,000 to set your career is thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars potentially for the rest of your career. That is one little thing right now that everyone here should be at least attending, because we give you some tips and tricks to that. And you spend all these years of education, but you never spend the time to negotiate, let's say your first job interview or your salary. from planning to family and community, network of advice. Another component, one of my keys is it's what I tell my kids too. Everyone is an average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. That could be good, that could be bad. Really do a self-assessment and a judgment of like who you're spending time with. Because as we want to motivate ourselves and improve ourselves and go forward and grow healthful, in a healthy environment, you also want to sort of tend the garden at home through your network of advice and so on and so forth, as well as self-care. So that's my component. Bronwyn has 7 principles. And so Mary, real quick, going back to the education and the kitchen table conversations of older generations. I didn't hit this, but before I wanted to, my inspiration was personal. My dad worked to 70 years old. He was very traditional, came over as an immigrant in 1953 through Ellis Island. He came and said, Rob, the 2 things that are most important to my family is education and opportunity. That's why we sacrificed to come to America. Education and opportunity. It's up for you to do with what you will. That being said, he retired at 70 years old. Traditional takes care of the, patriarch of the family takes care of the finances. And in 4 months into retirement, gets struck with stage 4 cancer. My mom, who's a very smart, bright, intelligent woman, is now thrust into 2 subjects. Being a medical advocate, understanding what the Mayo Clinic is going to do for my dad while he goes through cancer treatment, as well as the world of finance, estate planning, and taxation. This whole world was completely overwhelming. My mom is blessed to have both my brother and I in the financial world. We can help her and partner with her. But that was the inspiration. That was, listen, let's start the conversation. Let's start the communication. Older generations didn't have those conversations. My dad said, don't worry, everything's all set. And in our world, financially speaking, as a financial advisor, when somebody says they're all set, that doesn't mean they're all set. So there's a lot of inspiration here and a lot of education that we want to get out for everyone. So it's not just the high school students, it's the parents and grandparents as well can join.
You said a couple of things that I just we could have a conversation for hours on this, and I'm looking forward to it myself. And I could see how this is not just beneficial, for women or beneficial for high school students, beneficial for everyone.
Yes.
Conference would be beneficial because just the last piece you're talking about with your mom and going through stages of life and so forth, that was very difficult to talk with my mom. And I feel like if I had a little coaching beforehand, it would have been a lot easier to do and so forth. So
exactly.
That's
well,
just.
I think as you get older too, like I have to face a lot of issues about, what are my final days? What is going to happen to me? I just made a donation to this company for science for my body, and you had to talk to your kids about that, and they're all freaking out, and you make all of the financial arrangements to get them, in your living trust and get them signed on documents, so that when you leave this world, it's not a burden to them. And it's hard to do that because they don't want to hear it and you don't want to say it.
Yeah. So,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, Rob, maybe if you could share with us a little bit about how to go to the conference, what do they need to do and so forth.
Yeah,
certainly. So you can go to cw3confidencesummit.com. Sean, Sean has the, there it is. Perfect. He has the, website link right there for you. Sign up. And for the students that are on there today, we're going to give you a conference code. And, the Berger Foundation has been so generous and so wonderful. We were able to get a grant from the Berger Foundation. They were partnered with us. They saw the vision in this, and they are sponsoring for the Coachella Valley some tickets here. So we have tickets available for the students. The code is CW3_students. So it's a capital S. We'll send it to send a conversation link to or inquiry to Sean, and we'll get him the information for you. But we'd love for everybody to join, especially if you're a high school student. I just encourage you, sign in, and then use this later on. If you don't have the day, that's okay. Take it in bits and pieces when you do have time, and you do want to binge watch later, if you will.
Yeah, Rob, you brought on a really important item earlier about negotiating your salaries and making yourself have a worth, because I'm probably a victim of that as well. You go in and they say, okay, this is what it's going to be offered. And you're kind of embarrassed about, should I put $17 or $30, or is that going to affect me being hired if I'm asking for more money? And what I did with my students in the classroom was to tell them that they need to look at where they're going to work, look at the environment, walk around, find something about the company, And if you accept the salary, you have to accept it. You made that decision to work for $10 an hour, and you can't 4 days later say, well, I kind of got, screwed in a way. I should have been made more money. And I see that happening, that, sometimes people are so anxious to get a job that they don't really look at their value, and they don't know how to negotiate it. I mean, I still struggle with that. And when I talk to my guys, I said, you need to know that if this job isn't for you, own up to it, talk to the manager, your chef, whoever, maybe move into another department, but don't sit there and be miserable and bring everybody else down. And, and that's hard to do, because the workplace, there's so many people. I call them my work family. So that point that you brought out about working with students, I mean, I think that's just invaluable. It's such a great beginning place to give these people a pathway and a journey.
Well, thank you, Chef Mary. And you know what? We've put it all in one place, right? So 17 speakers, 17 topics, if you will. We are touching on everything from art and negotiation to, everything you can talk about, but in one place, so that you have access to that education. Again, I start off with education. That's where my dad came over and really said education and opportunity are really what this is all about here in America. And so now, especially with the internet today, we have access to all of that. So we've curated that, and then we've given it life with all the experts from wellness to wealth, and it's there for you guys. So we encourage everyone to join. We know it's going to change your financial life, your self-confidence, and then that's what gives you confidence going forward to walk into a future job interview, or even go to college and know on campus, should I get that credit card or not? I mean, those are important things, because your credit score determines, again, your financial future. And we can discuss that next week. But I just would like everyone to join. This is a community-wide event. It's something to do. It's encouraging and inspiring for the new year. And now's the time to start. It's January. So I just thank you guys for the opportunity today to talk about it.
No, I think it's fantastic. And I want to give a couple more plugs to your speakers that I know personally.
Okay.
So I serve outside of education. I serve the Leadership Coachella Valley Board. I'm their president. And for a full year, I was Valerie Power-Smith's vice president for Leadership Coachella Valley. She's one of your speakers. And of course, you have her speaking on the art of negotiation. I love that. And then, Mary, you'll love this. We do a lot of joint activities, the Desert Sands Foundation with AMP. AMP always participates with our CamFest, but the creator and CEO of AMP is Kate Spates, and she's one of the speakers about fearless living. And I've heard her story. I'm curious what else is going to be part of that. So I can't wait to tune into that as well. And all the rest of your speakers here, they're just all top notch.
Thank you, Sean. This is so exciting. So I'm really looking forward to sharing this with. We've been working on it for 6 months plus now. My development director, shout out to her, or our communications director and confidence director as well. She does everything. Nyan Chandler has done an exceptional job. She also will reply if you go to our website, and if you have any questions or need some sort of assistance, let's say on tickets, please just reach out to us directly through our confidence, cw3confidencesummit.com, and we're happy to help.
Okay. And if you want to,
exciting.
Yeah, I think it's real exciting. And then I know that we just talked about this year's conference, talked a little bit about last year's. What does the future look like?
Yeah, so two things. Last year was our first year, and we were hoping and praying for 100. We got 126, standing room only. And so we blew past expectations. The feedback we received is 94% said we want a 2-day event. Well, obviously this year has changed, so we went virtually speaking. So this year we're virtually, so we've surpassed last year's totals. We're probably close to 200 attendees right now, and we're looking forward to getting more. But that being said, next year, I think we're going to have it bigger and better than ever, obviously with a component of speakers, but it'll be sort of a hybrid. As we were talking before we got on, Chef Mary's talking about, this is worldwide now, right? Everyone around the world can sort of attend virtual events. So I think the future is real as it relates to a hybrid event, both in person if you're comfortable and you want to get, personally motivated for next year when everything's all safe, as well as those who can't be here locally. And think about this. Chef Mary was talking about this earlier. Start the conversation, right? It's okay not to be a financial expert or a wellness expert, but there's no excuse not to have that conversation right now and start today. And this is that component or that avenue to start it. And then you can share this with your friends and family wherever they are. So multi-generations, grandma and daughters and granddaughters can connect virtually speaking in this manner, and then start that family conversation post this event about values and wealth within family. Mary brought this up, and that's very responsible that she's already done this in her own family. But most haven't even started the conversation. They think it's taboo to talk about it. They don't know how. So this will be that launching pad. Chef Mary's your inspiration for that. But it also connects, virtually speaking, around the world too.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, when we were little, I remember that there was very little you could talk to your parents about. My parents were they hardly finished high school, but they were hardworking, country people. But we never talked to them about anything personal or money, or as we grew up as girls, what was going to happen to us. And now I think those avenues are opened. And, my granddaughter, I won't go into the detail, but she shared something with me that I would have never asked my grandmother. Never, ever, never. And I was just bowled over that the comfort zone that she has from being a young lady, she's 11, and that she's able to have these conversations and feel comfortable about it. And I think that's important, that we empower people to be able to say something and ask questions and not feel intimidated or embarrassed about it. And then that person should be able to respond back in a proper manner and give them confidence that that was a good question, and thank you for asking, and I'm proud of you. I'm glad that we've come to that in our community. I never had that when I was little.
That's wonderful, Mary. And Chef Mary, that's inspirational in itself. That's the foundation of this. Is just start now, start real time. And one last tip before I let you go. I know you have a wonderful schedule today for my audience, and this is sort of a tip that we're going to give for next week, but I'll share it with our audience today. Everyone has time to be open for growth in learning right now. And let me give you this real quick, right? With all of our devices and all the social media, you can change your daily educational, I call it daily digital. Go to some of the free websites. Everything's free nowadays. Go to Dave Ramsey, go to all of these financial independence hashtags and social media handles. My kids will make fun of me if I start talking about all that stuff. But the reality is that you already have your daily feed that you're looking at. Okay, add in some financial wellness, some financial independence websites and things that you follow in feeds. Even on TikTok right now, there are some great financial tips from everything from CPAs to financial advisors to everything else. Add that in and follow that. Why? Because if you look at your phone at the end of the week, you know how much time you spend on it. So don't tell me you don't have time for this. Everyone has time for this. And if you do it daily, right, it then is a snowballing effect in terms of education, which is confidence. And that's what you really want.
I love that. I had to write that down immediately. Change your daily digital. I feel like I'm a creature of habit. I need to add some more of this into my life.
Just add it in. It's easy. Yeah. It's easy. It's free.
Yeah.
I think it's like I like to listen to talk radio, and I listen to all sides of talk radio. And I do listen to Dave Ramsey. And the information that he shares is so incredible because you don't think about that. I've got my car, I've had it for 10 years. I wouldn't have the foggiest idea how to go buy a car or even start or what I even wanted or how to negotiate financing. And when you hear this information, it's like, oh my gosh, I never thought about that. I didn't realize I had those options. And what you said, Rob, is so true that you just have to keep your ears open and listen to these things, and you don't have to have an opinion, but just absorb what they tell you. And then, you're a better person. You can go out and you have the courage to say, well, I don't want to pay that much for it. Or, I don't want to be there. What are my options? So I think this is incredible. I mean, I'm so excited. I can hardly wait.
I too think this is amazing. Rob, thank you for the opportunity for our students. I can't wait for you guys to share that code with us so we can get that out to the masses, because I know that this will be something very valuable, like I said, not just for our female students, but for all of our students. So thank you for that opportunity. Thank you for taking the time to join us. And like Mary said, I'm looking forward to next Thursday. I can't wait.
Oh yeah, me too. I'll be there with bells on.
Wonderful, guys. I truly appreciate that. And this is a gift for all in the community. And thanks for all that you do. So we appreciate that.
All right.
Thank you for making this available to us.
Yeah. Have a good one, Rob. Thank you.
You too, guys. Thank you.
Right. So, Mary, like I said, we always get the best of guests on our shows, don't we?
I'm ridiculously inspired. I mean, I'm always inspired, but it was like, if I can actually talk to someone that feels the way I do, is incredible. I mean, because you feel like you're alone sometimes in these things. And I think getting that information out and hearing it from different sources, I'm excited. It makes me feel like you have a worth.
Oh yeah, definitely, most definitely. And I'm looking forward to our career technical education teachers to share this with their students. I'm looking forward to Mr. Bebo sharing this with the masses, with all of his staff and so forth. And the next step from here is that this code is going to Ed Services, which then we can push out to our students. I think it would just be fantastic for them to have this opportunity. And like I said, they've got some of the best speakers in the industries of those. And the beautiful thing is that they're right here in the Coachella Valley too. A lot of these speakers are.
Well, I think a lot of us, it's nice to have someone that you know personally that can guide you through some things, because, just like even, dealing with maybe the stock market or investing or whatever, that's such a foreign place for me. And to be able to have them walk you through how to do that, or do a little group of ladies that get together and take care of your financial wellness, because that's always an issue. I probably made some huge financial mistakes in my life and would have loved to have had this information to maybe have changed that. I always go back to the student union at University of Buffalo. I was horrendous for the guy that signed up for the free T-shirt, water bottle, or whatever, because what you're signing up for is a credit card. And then here I was thinking, oh, geez, these are great. I know, and I think don't do that. Well, it lets you know how you can save what you've gotten, what you've worked for, instead of just giving it up. Because sometimes I just gave it up. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know. I was embarrassed. Yeah. I was really embarrassed that it was happening, and I didn't want to talk about it. Yeah. And I think maybe this conference will let people say, yes, I had to do this. I didn't do that. I lost this. I should have managed it better. Because as a young person, our family, we had no electricity in our house. Mm-hmm. We had an outdoor bathroom. And so, when you have a beginning like that, you're just glad to have electricity and indoor water, and you're grateful for those things. My dad, he made me go to work. He said, you are not going to sit home this summer. When you graduate, you're going to go to work, and I will drive you to work, and you will get a job. And that kind of started it. But he just said, be happy, have a good job, be happy, be a good person. Exactly. That's all I had. I had no financial things, no money. Well, where you are now, I hope I can make it that way. Jeez, you're doing great. I'm looking forward to Rob's conference. I'm really excited about this. Yeah, I'll send you the code as soon as we get it. And I do want to continue on here with our topics. So Mr. Bailey last night sent an email to the entire Desert Sand staff, all 3,000 plus other staff and so forth. And in it, I want to give you some of the highlights. I think this is good news for everybody to hear. He talks about the finish line does appear to be in sight with vaccinations going on. We're going to have vaccinations available to district employees via pod sites in coming weeks. So that means like at school sites and so forth. So that's kind of good news to hear. That's great news to hear. I'll tell you, you've asked about when we're coming back to school, Mary, and I'll tell you. So in October, we had our meeting, our school board meeting, that says that, hopefully in January 19th, we can open up. Yeah, I remember that. Right. And at the time, and you were at the school board meeting and you heard too, that at the time, the red tier was 7 to 100,000 residents. Presently, we're at 107.2 per 100,000 residents, and we have to be at 28 to consider school opening. So needless to say, unfortunately, January 19th will not be at hybrid learning, but I will say that we do have small group going on. We do have conditioning going on. We do have all those types of activities going on right now. Yeah. There is a proposed plan for $2 billion that would be allocated to school districts that incentivize in-person learning. So that we're getting that from Governor Newsom. He said that he announced that in the Safe Schools plan, but we're going to get some more information about that. That's a proposal. In the Safe Schools plan, this is how it talks. Indicates that students TK through second grade would return first, followed by students from 3 through 6. And there is no present language per the governor and the plan, the Safe Schools for All plan, that addresses 7 through 12. So there's nothing in regards to that. But like we said, we need to have the adjusted case rate to fall below 28 per 100,000 before we even think about coming to school. Yeah, and as we said, we're at 107.2. And I'll share with you. You'll appreciate this. I know that they're talking about having some pods and sites be as a distribution for vaccinations. From what I understand, one of the places they're talking about is that
We've used that for a cafeteria many times, so the old gymnasium or the new gymnasium over at La Quinta High.
Oh yeah, I know that place very well.
Yeah, you know that place very well. So they're working with the county officials and so forth to get that in plan. And we hope to offer more DSUSD sites as well. That's to come. But another email I received, this is really cool. Laura Fisher, she sent out, she's our Assistant Superintendent of Student Support Services. We talked with her about health and well-being and wellness and so forth. But she sent out the link to actually register for our COVID shot, since we're in 1B, educators are. And she's already ready to go, and she's got her appointment set, and she's going to actually get it at Ralph's. She'll have her vaccination done right at Ralph's. Yeah. So a lot of important information that was given out during the school board meeting, important information that was sent out by Mr. Bailey yesterday as well.
Yeah, well, I was watching the news this morning, and it looks like some of the businesses are going to try to make an incentive program to get their employees vaccinated, which I thought was really interesting. And they said they wanted to protect their employees, they wanted to protect the people that come in the store and purchase things. And I think that probably is going to be something that will really help us, particularly in the environment, where we've got students and parents, to make sure that everybody is protected. And the young lady that was speaking, incredible. I'm still thinking about what incredible. She was from LinkedIn. And I think this young lady is just going to go way, way far in the community. She had such presence, and her speaking voice, how she handled the whole interview I was so impressed with her.
Okay.
It's glad to see that maybe that they're going to move in that direction too.
Yeah.
Not only the schools, but our public.
Right, definitely. Moving on, Mary, you love to know about meals and everything. So let me show that on the screen here. So as you know, we have meal distribution going on at all of our school sites, right? And they can go Monday through Wednesday. And since we don't have school Monday, they doubled up some meals. So I have, Brooklyn, anybody 18 and under can accept meals. So what I did is I went through the line. I said, I need meals for one. And this is what they received yesterday for 5 breakfasts and lunches.
Oh my God.
They got everything from pizzas there, and you can't really see it, but the pizza's made with turkey and beef. You got some mini burgers. You got a ham and cheese sandwich there. You got a 2 cheese and green chili quesadilla. You got a taco stick that has that's protein meat in there, vegan meat. Then you can see all the produce. Look at all that produce there. You got pears. You got 2 different types of pears there, 3 different types of apples, and you got some oranges. And then obviously you got the carrots, and that's a salad shaker. That's kind of cool. So they give you a little ranch dressing. You put in there and shake it up. And then you can see you got some pan dulce, you got some donuts, and then you got 5 juices and 5 milks to go along with it. So
that's a chopped basket.
You know what? Speaking of chopped basket, you'll love this. I immediately took that picture and I sent it to a couple of our chef friends. And some of our chef friends, I'll share in detail some more of this, but they said what you could do is take the apples, grate them, take the pears, make a apple pear corn slaw to put over the greens for a salad.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. You could easily do that. Let's see here. Same thing. You can use that same slaw and put it on the sliders of the sandwich to spice it up a little bit.
Yep.
What is it? Another chef said, you can use the milk and use maybe the pan dulce and the donut to make like a, what is it? I gotta look at here. A bread pudding.
Yes.
Yeah. So a lot of creative things came out of this, and you're gonna love this. So one of our close friends, actually, who I met you through, Chef Robertson, he shared with me at New Leaf they've been doing some Zoom teaching classes. So he's got his whole commercial kitchen set up to do classes and to teach. So what we're going to do is I already talked to Dan Capello. We're going to get some of these food items here. And we're going to give them like a week's worth and say, Scott, let's have some fun. Because a lot of times our families, they're getting food for 2-3 students. There's a lot of food there. Like, yes, you can have the traditional meals that we have. Like the tacos are good and the fruit's good and so forth. But why not doll it up a little bit? Why not make it a little bit crazy, right? Why not?
Well, there was a show on Chop, because I watch Chop all the time. I just find it fascinating because my refrigerator is like a Chop refrigerator. We have our must-go soup and things like that. But they actually had an event where there was that burrito. I think it was a burrito you're showing how they took it apart and used different components of it to make something else.
Yep,
You know,
exactly.
they did the inside. They used, I think they took that, we made a pizza, by just rolling some of it out. So, I mean, I think that's really cool. It is kind of fun, just think outside the box.
Yeah, I agree. Think outside the box, see what we can do. I also sent it off to Chef Andy. She gave me some ideas. Chef Reese sent me some ideas. Chef Jenna over at Rancho Mirage High School sent me some ideas. So it'll be fun to think outside the box and have our kids, I'm going to challenge the students over at La Quinta to come up with something too, of course,
Yeah, I remember when I was working at the Hilton, we had an event and they ordered all these donuts, just the cake donuts. And we got them in, they came back in the kitchen and we said, what are we going to do? And so we made bread pudding by not even doing anything with the donuts, but putting them in a pan and then putting the custard over top of it and all the other things and baked it. And Sean, it was incredible. You had your own little square donut thing, because now they're all square because they got squished together.
Right.
And we had desserts for like 2 days that we just gave out to our guests for free for dining with us, because we thought we don't want to throw them away, and we could go to the dining room and say, would you like to have a nice, dessert? And there, look, it's a donut bread pudding.
Right.
So you can do those things with that really easily. And that's great.
Easily. You can, what is it? Chef Andy just texted me. It's like, you can add a couple things here and there and you can make a nice little meal out of this. Definitely.
Exactly. And with all those vegetables, to roast them and put all different spices and oils and everything. I mean, to me, that is a treat in itself that feels like you're eating more like a protein.
Yeah, most definitely. So I want to make sure, I have to apologize. I displayed the wrong website earlier. I put a period where there's not supposed to be, but there's the correct web address, and I put it in the comment section. So if you want to go to the Confidence Summit, you can definitely access it there. Very important. If you want to access it, please do that soon. You can go ahead and register and so forth. But I wanted to make sure to display that. And then, Mary, lastly, before we sign off, I don't want the LCAP lady to get upset with me. I want to make sure to give her a plug. We have surveys that are going on, right? Students and teachers, we want you to fill out the survey January 4th through the 15th. Got a couple more. You got one more day to fill out the panorama survey. We make it very. We take this information here and we make a lot of big decisions on it. So make sure, be a part of that survey. And make sure you get your information in there. Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, and I encourage everybody to tune into the conference. I know, as someone who likes information, it doesn't take very much. I always felt if you learned one thing a day, you were ahead of everybody else. And to listen to the conference and see, what can be done, how you can do it, your resources, it's just invaluable. I'm so pleased to be a part of it, to know that we can pass this information on to our young people and even the old people like me. It's like you always want to know, like, how do I do that? Or how do I get in the stock market? Do I trust them? Do I know what I'm doing? And I think this gives them a level of trust that they can do it.
Exactly. Yeah. And like I said, I vouch for a lot of the speakers myself. I know them personally. I can't wait to see some of our students and how they react to it. Rob did share with me weeks ago when we had our first meeting. He had students at the actual physical conference last year. He had high school students there, which I thought that was fantastic. Yeah. And now that the aspect that is virtual and the aspect that you can access it whenever, I love the whole idea of binge watching. Yeah, I'm going to binge watch a lot of these things. Definitely. There'll be a lot of good things coming up.
Well, during my course of being around in the culinary industry and, of course, being a volunteer, I did get to work with the American Idol. So I saw how, like a person like Carrie Underwood, how her career went from being this little high school person to this incredible human being. I knew the lady that made Spanx. We actually worked for them. Okay. And I knew the lady that did Sprinkles, the cupcake lady.
Both of these guys have been on Shark Tank as the Sharks as well. Look at you.
And I knew these gals when they were all starting out, and everybody kind of laughed at them and poo-pooed it off, but they pursued it, and look where they are now. I mean,
I'd love to get in your contact list one of these days and see what I could steal and borrow.
So these have been inspirational, that you can figure out that somebody's going to make a pair of like pantyhose that's going to be. I mean, they're nationwide. I mean, they're international. You've seen them everywhere.
I want to say she's probably close to a billionaire. I'm almost positive.
And the Sprinkles lady, she's on a lot of the cooking shows right now, and a celebrity. and came out from making cupcakes at Balboa Island in Newport.
So, okay, so I'm going to end on this. You're talking about some of our celebrities that we've known and so forth. So, celebrity chef Brooke Williamson, who you and I have worked with many times, and we showed pictures of her last week. She started quite the culinary movement. I don't know if you follow her on Instagram, but what she makes it a point is any ticket that comes in through her restaurants, you put in the comment section, it goes on the ticket. So what's been happening, I get chills thinking about that. What's been happening is patrons of hers have been writing special messages. And some of her patrons are just saying, hey, have somebody on your staff enjoy this meal. Hey, can you give this meal to somebody who's a frontline worker? So she just posted a picture the other day of over 100 meals that were purchased just by people that her restaurants that go there regularly, that, you know, like on Postmates or whatever it is, that they ordered the meal and said, this one additional meal, we're paying it forward for somebody else.
Oh, that's awesome.
And you got to love that, you know, a chef that we both work very closely with is doing that also in a national aspect. You know, here she was honored on, what is it? Bravo ran it on their social media last night. Yeah,
well, I mean, so look at the people we've worked with. We worked with Arden, who is, and I worked with Guy Ferrari. I mean, the first time that we went to competition with a Full Start, he was there as a young person, just out of the box. I mean, I think that was one of the first times that he had won one of the competitions, and look where he is now. I mean, you know, and we met with, with Kat Cora and, all the other chefs that we've been around, and you watch them on TV. And I think it's really good that our students, we had pictures taken with them. They can say, hey, like I'm always happy I have a picture with Carrie Underwood. I haven't been invited to our house, but I have a picture with me.
You know what? Once we make it to Good Morning America, that's what you'll have to ask her.
I know. That's like
everybody. Hey, Carrie, I served you food when you were on the American Idol. Can I go ahead? Not serve, but you created all the food that she ate on the American Idol.
Yeah, I mean, so it's this conference. I think, well, it's good for them to see people that have had beginnings that were questionable, and they've become national figures. And you wear their product, and their product, and you recognize them when you see them, and you realize the work behind it. I mean, it doesn't just come easy. It's a lot of work.
Right. Definitely. Well, Mary, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to wrap up the show here.
Okay.
Do want to let you know on Classroom Conversations on Tuesday, I believe we're going to have the Panther 5K representatives from Palm Desert Charter Middle. So they're going to talk about it. And then real quick, I do want to ask, do you know Chef Andrew Copley well? Have you ever worked with him?
I did. Actually, I worked with Andrew at the first wine and food festival that we had in Palm Springs in like the early 80s with Carrie Hendricks.
Wow. You're pulling out some names here. Okay.
And I worked with Julia because remember when I was working for Scott, we were in competition to do one of the big events in Palm Springs. So I met with Chef Andrew and his wife.
Okay, so real quick, and we'll get more details next week. He's doing a fundraiser with Palm Desert High School where they're doing Zoom cooking, wine. It's going to be great. So I'm hoping that we can get Chef to come on and talk about that in detail.
Yeah, he's a great guy. I mean, we one night we went into in the restaurant afterwards, and I was with this friend of mine, and she had her elderly father, and Chef Andrew came out and started talking with us, and as just a person, and his personality was it was a riot. I mean, we were laughing and we were kidding because him as this very serious chef with his restaurant. And we were so glad that he took the time, and Patty's father was just elated to go back to Canada and say he had a cocktail with Chef Andrew. And I'll always remember that. I was always just thought, because you don't always have the time, and that's the kind of guy he is. He's a great guy.
Right. Awesome. Well, hopefully we get to speak with him and meet with him next week or the week to come.
I know. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, Mary, I'll see you on Tuesday.
Okay, you have a good day, Sean.
I'll see you backstage here in a second. So, full day, full show. I got to speak with Rob Shine from CW3 Confidence Summit. Looking forward to participating and going to that next week. That'll be on Thursday. We'll have a code for our students. I think that's really awesome that all of our students will have that opportunity to access and go ahead and binge watch all of those different shows and videos from the great speakers from the Coachella Valley as well as throughout the U.S. But make sure to tune in next week, Tuesday and Thursday at 9 o'clock with Classroom Conversations. And you guys have a great weekend. Make sure to wear your mask and wash your hands. Have a good day.